Hi folks, how are you doing? There we go with yet another game of Wesley So. Now played in 2006 in the OIBM tournament. In 2006, here Wesley played with black pieces against Gerhard Niebergel, rated 2139. So this guy Gerhard plays e4, and yet we have another Sicilian. Knight f3, knight c6, and we have the bishop b5 variation, the Rosolima, very trendy these days to avoid the unbearable amount of theory of standard open Sicilians, at least in the elite level. Here g6, more or less the more standard approach to fianchetto the dark squared bishop and play like it was a kind of a accelerated dragon or something. Now white castles, bishop g7, and white plays c3. More or less, as far as I know, the most typical plan, if you're not going to return to the transposing into open Sicilians, c3, is to try to play d4, recapture with a pawn in the center on d4, and have a great center, a good pawn center. And of course, black is going to have to do something about that. He's going to take advantage of the tempos to get a lead in development and have a great development there. So here knight f6 attacking the pawn, and here white played not the most common approach. He played queen a4, protecting the pawn with the queen. Now it is, I think, much more common to play the natural looking rook e1. Now short castle, d4, c takes. Now white has got what he wanted, a big pawn center, but black is in time to attack it and has lots of development. White is a little bit behind in development, so d5 is the typical move. And this is very, very theoretical. e5, knight e4, knight c3, takes. And this is a very playable positions with chances for both players. White has good pawns in the center, but nothing really that strange or that awful for black. This is playable for both. A very interesting position. Instead, Gerhard Niebergel went for this queen a4, which seems a little bit more weird. Puts the queen on the fourth rank and protects the pawn with the queen. Now natural looking castle and d4, c takes. Now white is behind in development, but has his pawn center, which seems what he wanted. Now typical moves: d5, trying to crush white center, e5, knight e4. And here already white starts making some, I think, dubious moves. He went for the pawn taking on c6 with the queen, attacking the rook on a8. More natural would be probably to try to catch up on development with moves like knight c3 or bishop e3, I don't know, trying to catch up a little bit with development and bring pieces into the game. But instead white prefers to take a pawn, attacks the rook on a8. Now here a couple of possibilities for black. Wesley decides to go for bishop g4. Now the rook on a8 is protected by the queen, and the bishop here as well is attacking the knight. In case he takes it, he could spoil white's kingside position. Another option, maybe an interesting one, was to play rook b8, just having target here on the b2 pawn. Maybe possibilities to play bishop b7 or rook b6, attacking the queen, which is not which could be a problem here in the center. But instead bishop g4 seems reasonable as well. White plays h3, and now black plays rook c8. Black is much better in development, can afford this kind of moves, erasing the queen, and has a big lead in development, which gives him at least the initiative. Okay, he's pawned down, but as we know, dynamics and initiative is very important. And in this case, it seems that black has it compensated. I mean, initiative, bishop pair, queen a6 is played. Now Wesley took on f3, giving up his bishop pair, but spoiling white kingside position and weakening white king. And now he plays this interesting exchange sacrifice. Rook takes c1. Very interesting, because he wants to control some dark squares around the white king, and he argues that white king, now he is alone, he is very weak, and he will have time to develop an initiative against it, having lots of activity with his pieces. Now his knight is under attack, so he goes knight g5, attacking both pawns on a3 and h3. The king goes to g2, looks natural to protect both pawns, and now queen d7. The queen joins the party, attacking so far the h3 pawn, but he will try to go in and attack more weaknesses that white has in his king side. Just take a look at these pieces here. The rook on a1 and the knight on b1 aren't doing anything so far. So this is the compensation, that white has not catched up in development, and black is trying to take advantage of that fact that the white king is weak. Now rook h1, protecting on h3, and queen f5. Now attacking on f3. Engines are suggesting another line. Very complicated. It seems reasonable to try to open with f6, the f line for the rook, to incorporate and get another piece. But okay, it might be okay to play it, but it's very complicated and certainly double-edged, because the white will try probably to kick his own counterplay on the king side, even though he has only a rook on h1 with h4, knight e6, h5, which is very complicated and double-edged position. But complications could favor black, as he has more pieces developed, and his king doesn't seem that weak as the white king. But anyway, his knight queen f5 seems also very natural, very good move. Queen a3, the queen must go back to protect, and now knight a6. The knight has lots of squares to jump into, and really there are lots of holes, lots of weaknesses in this king side and even in the center, and the knight is going to take advantage of that. Knight c3, and here knight f4 check. Instead of taking the pawn, Wesley goes for the attack on the king. King f1, and now the queen can check on d3. King g1, obviously going to e1. This is checkmate in one move. So king g1 is played here, and now queen takes on f3, threatening the checkmate on g2. Now white king is absolutely weak, and the compensation is clear for black. He has sacrificed an exchange, but the compensation is clear. White king is very weak. Rook h2, and now the knight takes with check on h3. Yet another pawn, king f1, knight f4. So far white has avoided being checkmated, but his king is kind of sieged, and his pieces cannot go very far away because the king needs protection. You know, the e2 pawn square is weak, the g2 pawn is weak, so white pieces cannot do much here, just to keep reorganized and defending his own king. The queen takes on e7 at this case. Well, another move. Engine suggests the rook e1, regrouping piece, and seems more or less reasonable to bring the other rook into the game. e6 protecting, rook e3, queen g4, queen takes a7. Well, and it seems that white could have avoided the worst part of problems, and maybe regrouping might have a little bit of advantage, because at the end his king may not be that weak if he gathers with his rooks around the king and keeps protecting it. Instead, white went to take yet another pawn on e7. Rook b8, another rook. Almost the last piece of black army is going to join the attack. Now it's attacking to take on b2 and join here the party. Queen h4, definitely a mistake. White thinks he has time to counterattack on black king himself through the h-file, but there is no time, because black is going to go there first, and white is simply giving up too much material and too much weaknesses against his king. Now rook takes d3, rook takes b2. it seems much more precise to play to d3 with check, and after king g1 taking on d4. There are some threats to simplify it. And if white takes on a7, king f8, and suddenly white has no attack, and h8 square is guarded. So there are lots of threats that black has, and white doesn't have time to attack on his own. But anyway, rook takes b2 seems very natural too. Now the knight on c3 is hanging, and the rook on b2 is now into the game, directly attacking the king. Anyway, white stuck to his guns and takes on a7, but after king f8, queen h4, now it's threatening to checkmate on king d8, with queen d8, sorry. But the king goes to e8, very intelligent move. Now white has no checks other than sacrificing the queen on h8, which obviously is not an option. And he went queen g3, trying to solidify his position, his exchange advantage, material little advantage by exchanging, but this is the last mistake. Now his king is even weaker, and Wesley doesn't fail to find the fourth victory. Queen takes, pawn takes, now rook takes on h2, g takes f4, and well, white is going to win. The rook on a1, checking on h1, and obviously here I guess black saw it and just resigned the game. He just probably missed this move, because after the queen's exchange he was counting on giving back the material. Black takes and he takes on f4, but there is this little detail that the rook on a1 is hanging, is not protected, and this is one of the disadvantage of not developing pieces, of taking material for material and not developing initiative and active pieces. This rook on a1 never moved, was never protected, and now this is paying off for black, and he's going to win the game, checking on h1 and just taking the rook. So there we go, another Sicilian defense by Wesley So, another victory, this time in 2006. Hope you liked the video, hope to see you in next videos, and thanks for watching.